Hi and welcome to The Practice Gap, the podcast for closing the gap between the practice you have and the one that you want. I'm Elizabeth, a chiropractor, a business owner, coach and entrepreneur on a mission to help you move from frustration and overwhelm to clarity, focus and joy in practice. Hi, Hans Kristian Hvam, and welcome back to the studio all the way from Lystrup in Denmark.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful to talk with you. I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about what kind of patients that seek you out.
Yep. Mostly I see patients with musculoskeletal disorders, pain and aches and sciatica, headaches, dizziness, the regular stuff. I have a specialty in sports injuries. I took 1 year at the university in Odense for that. So I worked with some major league handball teams for 7 years after that, but I don't do that anymore. So I see a lot of sports injuries too in the clinics, and that's mostly arms and legs, basically, So carpal tunnel syndromes, stuff like that for normal patients. And then I see some patients that have tried everything and everything fails and they come to me for some reason. And they can be a little bit challenging,
What's the biggest challenge with them?
Is that they've tried everything and they're like I'm giving up, you're the last thing I want to try and let's see what you can do. Kind of thing.
Just let me ask you one question. Do you feel you have less or more of those now than in the beginning? Because I remember when I started in practice, especially with the children and babies, they were like, oh, we've tried everything. Now I come to you. And now it's kind of changed to, I come to you first, exactly. And then I will check everything else.
I have the same experience as you have there, because I think chiropractic is more mainstream now. It's more accepted in society. So they know...
And we are more chiropractors caring for more people.
Exactly. So if you have some musculoskeletal disorder, you seek a chiropractor first or a physiotherapist, more or less. In the old days, you always started with a medical doctor. And the medical doctor would always send you to a physiotherapist. Then you just follow that rule and you try some massage therapy. Then it's a cost-benefit thing for many people too. If you look at the statistics, it's like the high-educated, well-paid people that see chiropractors still. So there are
they don't have time to be on sick leave or wait
for
pain to go away.
But nowadays, chiropractic is so much more accepted and known in society for doing what they're doing. So I think people seek us as first care providers in those instances more than they did in the old days.
Mm-hmm. Do you think with that, the identity of the chiropractor has changed from being like the person who's actually, they seek you out first? How has that changed our profession or how we feel about ourselves?
I think the drive of the profession politically mostly nowadays is that we should be primary providers, kind of equal to the medical doctor, not in the medical doctor way, but in musculoskeletal diseases. So everybody should seek us first. And therefore we need to be schooled or learn a lot of more to be the primary provider. We need to be good diagnosticians and we need to be able to refer these patients out to the right professionals of the orthopedic surgeon or rheumatologist or neurologist or whatever. But then we also have our own specialties within the chiropractic profession. So we can use them too sometimes, And then we have a lot more, we can do more now than we could in the old days. We can refer out to a lot of stuff. I know I was in 2000, we got that privilege in Norway, I think, for MR scans. In Denmark, they were a little later. And, a newly educated chiropractor, let's say from the university in Denmark, they have interned at hospitals, so they know how the secondary part of the healthcare system works real good. So they're like primed of being a primary healthcare provider, much more than we were. When we were done out of school, we were not chiropractors, but we were supposed to be...
That's a good word.
in a clinic treating patients. Yeah. Of course, we were learned to do our diagnostic tests and examine the patients and see they were ready, because the most important thing for a chiropractor is to know when not to treat the patient, or at least where not to treat them.
So where do you see the profession going? What's your wishes for the future?
My wishes for the future in the profession that they still keep learning the trade of of treating a patient, not only examining and referring him out. That we still keep focus on techniques, on different techniques, and don't downplay it, as I think it is very much now, that manipulation, it doesn't have to be specific, you don't have to palpate, you just crack some bones and see what happens. It's all the other stuff that's important. If you do dry needling and exercises and whatever.
So that could be a consequence of being the primary care provider, to send out, to refer, and what your main your goal is to diagnose the patient.
Yeah, you can end up in a situation where you get the patient in and you examine the patient, you interview them and do all the stuff. You do an MRI scan, you do your x-rays or lab work or whatever is needed. And then your decision is, should I send them to surgery or to rehabilitation? And that could be your role as a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could a solution be to have some chiropractors doing that? Maybe that's how it already is, and then some being more the people who treat? Will it then become a primary and a secondary?
I don't know how it works in Norway, but in Denmark at least, they've come pretty far, because they are having chiropractors working in hospitals already. They're doing what I just said, and that's called a specialty chiropractor. And I think they have like 7 years more education in the hospital realm, where they are learned to read the MRIs and X-rays and the ultrasound scans, for instance. And they work in special clinics in the hospital, where they examine patients that they are not fixed in the first line of defense, the chiropractors and the physiotherapists and the general practitioners, and then they are referred to this place at the hospital, and then they can be examined either by an orthopedist or a physiotherapist or a chiropractor.
So when chiropractic is that integrated in the society, it changes everything, doesn't it?
It does, more or less, still. But still, when I talk to students from the university in Odense that are chiropractic students, they study a bachelor in medicine first with the medical students, but they're kind of forgotten. Oh yeah, there are some chiropractic students here too. So they're not that integrated, but still, it's much better than it was.
In Norway, we've been trying to get a chiropractic education for quite, I don't know if it's 15 or 20 years. How do you feel about that?
I think it could be a good idea if we can get the right teachers. But the thing is, in Norway, you have had a culture for manual therapists a lot that they haven't had in Denmark, because the laws of manipulation in Denmark have been real strict for until 2 or 3 years ago. And I think it was only chiropractic and medical doctors that were allowed to manipulate in Denmark those days. But in Norway, we have had a tradition for manual therapists, like physiotherapists and manipulators. And I think they are a much larger group, the physiotherapists. They have a large union or whatever it's called. And they have a lot more political power than the chiropractic association will have. So I think, it would be a good idea to have an education, but still you need to find the right teachers to teach. And in the basic science, that's no problem. But chiropractors that are taught by non-chiropractors, they don't get a chiropractic way of thinking from the beginning. They think in other ways. Yeah. Good or bad, good or bad. Yeah.
Yes, when this education comes to Norway, it's just super important. If you're out there and you are an excellent chiropractor who wants to become a teacher, you have to start thinking about that.
Yeah, exactly. And not only maybe also a little bit, also in the diagnostic sciences, not only the techniques. Yeah. Because the technique doesn't stand alone. You need everything, Those 3 legs we talked about in the earlier podcast, What was it we agreed upon? Science, art, and philosophy.
Or actually science, art, and... science. I was thinking the other one, the art, philosophy, and technique. But that was the wrong one. Science, art, and philosophy, and it's a triangle, and you need everything.
Exactly. But we have to. But chiropractic as it started. Patented medicine came in 1910. Before that, it was like Wild West in the medical profession. So, of course, when they started out there in 1895 or whatever, they thought they found, the solution for everything. The chiropractic said that the nervous system that controls everything in the body directly and indirectly, and the osteopath said, no, it's the circulatory system that does that. So they were a little different, But still, they had they thought still about that the body as the best doctor that we have. And then in 1910, when patented medicine came, it kind of divided everything in the States within the healthcare professions. The ones that wanted to do medical things, and the ones that just wanted to do it the natural way still, which were the chiropractors. The osteopath, they started prescribing medicine back then, you know.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of money from the medical industry to do research and build their schools and everything. And that left chiropractic way behind everything, you know, because we were too stubborn. And that's BJ's fault.
Yeah, that's good.
And then, of course, when you're told that the only thing you're going to adjust is like C1, C2, I didn't think people thought about that. And then this guy, he thought that was crap, so he started an napropath school instead, where connective tissue was the reason for subluxation. So, yeah, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot many, many times because, as we talked about earlier, the patient doesn't really care what you do to them. They never heard about evidence-based chiropractic. They just want to be fixed. And they expect it to say crack when you come to chiropractic because that's what it does.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Let's go back to the shooting yourself in the foot. They're also saying that we are our own worst.
The chiropractors are their worst enemies. I don't remember who said that, but someone has said it before, and that's probably true because we are from different schools. Or at least we were a lot. We have different opinions if we went to Palmer or Life or some other schools, you know. They had all kind of different ways of doing it because we're all offsprings from the Palmer College anyways, with a little twist to it. And then in Denmark, they're probably doing one thing right. And that is, it's going to be a real homogeneous mass of chiropractors in Denmark in 10 years. Everybody's from the same school. Everybody talks the same language. So everybody agrees on everything, more or less, because they're all from the same institution. And that gives harmony and peace within the profession, which is a good thing. Because we've always been discussed. You can't, as we always said, you can discuss technique, but you can't discuss results.
But in Denmark, is it only chiropractic? Does anyone go out abroad, or are they all educated in Denmark?
I think most of them are educated in Denmark because it's hard. If you do your internship in Norway now and you work for 5 years and you go to Denmark, you need to do a Danish internship. They don't accept anything from outside. So let's say you go to...
How does a Danish internship look?
Pretty much as I think the Norwegian does. You just work in a clinic.
Is it any other countries than Denmark and Norway?
I don't know if Sweden has it.
No, I don't think so. No,
I'm not quite sure. And that's a good thing, I think, because...
the internship is wonderful.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It's real good for learning, but it was also real good when we came home. My journals were half English the first 2 years, you know. I didn't know anything about the Norwegian healthcare system when I came home. So it's a good way of being a little bit integrated, at least. Also, chiropractors have never talked the same language, and that has been a problem.
Good. I was contemplating the language thing, which is, I think that's a problem for not only within the profession, but also communicating outside. Because we don't speak the language. There is not words that we don't understand with each other because we don't speak the same language.
No. And we have some different opinions on what to do and what not to do. And there will always be professional pride. If you're a medical doctor or a chiropractor or an osteopath or a napropath or a massage therapist, you should have some pride in being what you are. You know, and that gives you kind of a defensive position in some discussions, and that's not always good.
It seems like in Denmark and also Norway, I mean, we've come a really, really long way. We have wonderful laws, we have great education, we have great internships. I mean, we've really come a long way. But there are there's positive and the negatives. The downside of being so established is maybe when you come home, you lose some of the hunger because you're not an underdog anymore. You're already up there. Or is that a concern we don't have to think about?
I don't know. When we came home, we were real high on chiropractic, so we needed to be put down a little bit, you know.
Pushed down.
And then you had others that needed to be pushed up. So it depends on also, you see, depends on why you become a chiropractor. If you become a chiropractor just because you have good grades and you think you should use them with something, and you don't want to be a physiotherapist, then you can be a chiropractic instead. Or if you had like a life-changing experience as a child or something, For instance, I have this wonderful chiropractor working for me now, and her sister, she had real bad headaches, migraines, and she just had to lay in her bedroom with the curtains pulled, in a dark room for like 6 days or something. Then I kind of fixed her, and then I fixed the rest of her family, and that made her become a chiropractor. So she had already understanding of the power of the adjustment kind of thing. And then you have other that just become chiropractor because it's like, of course, everybody can be a good chiropractor, but then you have this motivation through your study. I want to do this that this guy did or something. So I think everybody has the potential to be a good chiropractor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Exactly. But you need to put some effort into it.
Yeah. Like everything in
like
life,
everything else.
You need to want to become better. Like the last episode we talked about just doing something every day to get better. If we visualize a little bit, let's go back to, we can use Denmark an example. So then if we get tons of more chiropractors and they're so integrated.
Yeah.
Where can you see all these future chiropractor be that are not, what are the places that should be great places to have chiropractors that are not, when they are really integrated?
I think that chiropractic as we see it today is the primary healthcare. You know, the first line of defense before they end up in a hospital or something. And they should be like the primary healthcare givers to musculoskeletal diseases. But that needs to be a real good education to be able to be that person, which the Danish university is real good at doing. But then you also need to be able to treat those things that you see there. And then you have the secondary, and if you fail as a patient, let's say you don't get any better, then you need...
That sounds sad, fail as a patient.
Yeah, but whatever, how you want to pay it. You fail. You don't get better in the first line of defense. Yes. You need to move on.
Move on.
You failed as a patient.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I feel terrible now. This is, by the way, how not to. This is the opposite of patient communication.
That's how not how to talk to your patient. Yeah. But still, and then you probably end up in a hospital somewhere, and then you could have another chiropractor examine you if that's because a medical doctor, I don't know how much they see, maybe 25% of their practice is like musculoskeletal diseases. There was actually this article in the newspaper yesterday that said in 2050 we had a 36% increase in low back pains worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
30.
It was in Aftenposten here the other day. I read it.
Just in how many years you said?
In 2050, that's like 20. Something years. And that's
globally. Yeah, and who are going to take...
And the increase would be mostly in Asia and Africa. Huh. So it's all like 30 years ago. They're pretty different.
What's the biggest change from in the patient?
They're not that... The mechanical load on the body is less now. Like the hard mechanical.
Yeah, you see
the high energy traumas. They are less now. Otherwise, you're doing sports chiropractic. Yeah. But now you see these office necks, you know, they use like 3 years building up a problem, and then it takes longer time to fix them. In the old days, we were known for like 3-4 treatments, and the patient was okay. And yeah, you still see that with the farmer that comes in that's used the shovel or the craftsman or something like that. But you know, with the academic realm, but everything is on a computer and you sit in an office, you take longer to build up your problem and it takes longer to get out of it.
And also from sitting in a computer, your body changes.
And now they're talking about, we talked about the reason for subluxation was your body's, the lack of ability to adapt to an external force. And the external forces were the three T's, thoughts, trauma, and toxins. And now they're talking about the biopsychosociological model of, tensions and stuff.
And then trauma, toxins and thoughts and technology.
And technology, I should have 4 T's now.
4 T's.
The 4 T's.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good one, Elizabeth. The 4 T's. We should write Eric Russell, our friend in the philosophy department over there, and having to include the 4th T.
Yeah. Good.
Coined a new term. No, so then of course you need to look at the patients in a different way, and you need maybe to use more modalities to get that patient, and they need to take care of themselves, of course, and do exercises.
And also they need more on different levels, and they need to be taken care of for a much longer time period because you do different things with them, or they have different needs. And I think also a lot of, back to the technology, a lot of people are more alone. They have more loneliness is on the rise.
Oh yeah.
People are more disconnected.
Exactly.
They don't get touched. They are depressed, and that also in young people, which is really scary. I think the patients need different things. They need more time. They need more. They need to be seen because a lot of people don't see it. They're never seen.
Yeah, in Japan they are hugging clinics. You know, you can go and lay down there and get hugged for half an hour and then get out again. So yeah, they're also advanced down there.
And I think that that's a new business idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Hugging clinics. That's cute.
Hugging clinics. Yeah, come and get
they're
some
really
physical
popular
attention.
on Sundays.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, any other ways the patients have changed that are you seen?
Yeah, they don't have that much time waiting in the waiting room anymore. So you need to be on time.
You need to be on. That's a good.
Because in the old days you could be like 30, 40 minutes late. Not that that's the thing to do, but still they were just looking at old magazines in the waiting room. And now they have like a real tight schedule.
And that's a very excellent point. I haven't really thought about that. And that that tells something about the stress level in people. Exactly. That they have so many meetings that they have to be on time, so they don't have any slack.
They don't have any slack in their life, and everything comes through some electronic device, gives you information about everything, anytime, all the time. And there's so much you need to look at and take care of and be on top of. So things have changed, definitely.
Yeah, and also just looking out in the waiting room, people are face down. They are down on their. I
was waiting for the train today, and I was the only one on that platform that didn't look down in my phone. So I felt real old and out of fashion, but still.
I just read this really excellent book on by Johan Hari, the Stolen Focus. Wonderful book, and it talks a lot about how our focus changes when we no longer, because of Facebook, Instagram, and how the technology works, or how they are, because they're hooking us. And I've made some small changes just to get out of the screen world, which is quite interesting. And then just by placing and not taking your phone up, how many people are on the phones? It's really, really, really sad.
It is.
It's a sad picture.
It is sad because instead of looking out the window and drive a car, now you look into your phone. Yeah. Because that's entertaining you.
Yeah, and you're missing out on life and just being part here and now.
Let's say I had a discussion with a patient here the other day. And there was his kid he couldn't time in his social interaction when they were in parties. He didn't know when to speak and what to say. And he couldn't read other people's faces. I mean, if I say something wrong to you, I can immediately see it in your eyes. But if you've been sitting before a computer and all your friends are online, you can say whatever you want, when you want it, and there's no sanctions for it. But if we are sitting in a party and you're talking to another and I interrupt all the time, you'll slap me or ask me to shut up or something. And I won't be able to see that in your face even because I've never seen a face angry before because they've been on a computer. So I think that's back to that being alone, that you need social interaction in real time, more or less, part of being a human.
And that's one of my favorite things about being a chiropractor, that you get the social interaction. And that's just gives so much pleasure, and it gives inspiration. After years and years and years of practice, I love the patient interaction.
Exactly.
Just the human beings, and you're helping them, and of course they're happy and you're happy, and you get. Sometimes now I feel I get more from my job than my patients, because it's such a wonderful place to spend your life in that treatment room with all these wonderful people as patients.
I thought about that a little bit as a problem for myself because because I had it the same way. I was on work like 6:30 in the morning and I was done like at 6, 7 in the evening. And then I was done being social. I have socialized enough during the day. So I just wanted to go home and don't say anything. And then chiropractic became my life, more or less. And I had to tune it down because then I didn't have a life outside being a chiropractor. It had benefits and pros and cons with everything.
And cons, and you have to watch that.
Suddenly, because I had this sad story about a friend of mine. He worked as a chiropractor until he was 96. And he was even open until Saturdays at 11 o'clock. So he worked 6 days a week. And then he took his pension, and then he had no friends anymore. He was the lonely old guy. Because the chiropractic was his life.
I read this obituary or something. It was one of our colleagues who had a father who was a chiropractor who died, and she wrote, I've never met this father. I don't remember who it was who wrote it, but she wrote a beautiful kind of rule for her father's life, who was a wonderful chiropractor, that get 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really hit me, because then it's like, okay, you need your sleep, you need to work, and then you have to detach and do other things and be with friends to get that. And that's the triangle. Back to the triangle, that's also another triangle balance thing.
Yeah.
You need to get that balance or
exactly.
else.
Because we both have friends they are chiropractors from they get up in the morning till they go to bed.
And a lot of people or colleagues said during the lockdown, when we couldn't go to work, they were telling like, who am I when I don't go to the clinic?
Yeah.
Who am I? Who's this person?
Exactly.
And that's
part of the existential questions you have as a chiropractor. Who am I? What am I?
Why am I here?
You should be like a chiropractor and the father and the peer and the team player when you play soccer or whatever you do. There should be space for everything. But the time is a little different now, because if you come out of the university in Denmark, you have 0 student loans. So, and when we came home, we needed to pay off huge loans, you know. So we had no choice. We had to get up early in the morning and work. So we had to pay our bills and support our families and maybe have a little vacation once in a while. So yeah, the premises of starting up now is a little different too.
And I think also a really wonderful thing that I see about with the younger practitioners, if it's chiropractors or physiotherapists or massage therapists, they are so into kind of taking care of each other. It's like being to work is, yes, it's patience, but it also is the social thing of being together, having a community at work.
Yeah.
That has I had no even thought, or of course when we came back there was no big clinics, there was just solo clinics. So and when I see now how important it is how you socially interact, that you have a good place to be and good place to work and inspiration, how important it is for us as people.
Very. I was very lucky. I came home to a multidisciplinary clinic, so there were like 3 other chiropractors there, and a medical doctor and a couple of physiotherapists and a massage therapist. But we started though, it was very lonely work still, because we started like 6:30 in the morning, and then we saw patients till 10:30. And then we ate 10 minutes and we went to sleep on a pelvic bench for like 15 minutes. And then we just went on until 4 or 5, and it was and we had no breaks in between because we were packed with patients. We saw a lot of patients back in the old days. And that was the work day. And then if we were lucky, we could quit like 12 on Friday and go home.
So then to wrap up a little bit and sum up, the most important thing to stay in the profession and be happy is to have a balance in your life.
Make it interesting to be a chiropractor for yourself.
Yeah, make it interesting. You are the one who, you have all this power to make it interesting, because you take new choices every day. Exactly. And there's a lot of possibility, and the future looks really bright.
It does.
It really does.
We'll never get out of work because there are a lot of patients out there. You just need to attract them.
You need to attract them. There's so many people sadly in pain.
Yeah.
But you have all this power to help them. We've gotten so far as a profession, and we have so many tools to use, and we are always learning, and we are super, super lucky to be able to help people.
Exactly. So the take-home message is, if there's 10 chiropractors in your street, you have to be the best, and they'll come to you.
Yes, and that's an excellent thing. And also being 10 chiropractors in the street has a wonderful more effect, because more people have been exposed to chiropractic, and they will, if one chiropractor didn't work, they will just go to another one.
Exactly.
Because there are. So never be afraid of each other.
Nope.
Just help each other to become better.
Exactly.
Good. That's a good wrap. Thank you, Hans Kristian.
Thank you very much. Thank you.